seals it for the Wolverines as they beat Ohio State for a third straight time. 30-24 is the final. They stay perfect, 12-0 on the season. They will advance to the Big Ten title game next week against Iowa. For Ohio State, lots of questions. They fall to 11-1, and now if they have a path to the playoff, well, they're going to need help from a number of other teams. Let's get some reaction to this massive result from Danny Cannell and our 24/7 partners, Coach Carl Reed and Smoke Dixon. First of all, Danny, this game was back and forth. They traded blows. We were saying that it was going to be the team that establishes the run game that kind of can get this one, but as it turned out, the turnovers were the difference here.
Yeah, I liked Michigan coming to this game because all I had done was heard about how Ohio State was ready to meet Michigan's physicality, but I hadn't seen it, and I needed to see it before I became a believer. And sure enough, Michigan once again was able to establish the line of scrimmage with more effectiveness. They were able to close out the game on that final drive, which took 5-6 minutes off the clock, where Ohio State, they finally did force them to a field goal, but it took just too long. And then the other reason was J.J. McCarthy, has had a very, consistent career for Michigan. He hasn't been this unbelievable stat machine, but he's a great game manager, and I trusted him more than Kyle McCord. And sure enough, Kyle McCord, 2 costly interceptions. The first one led to those immediate points, which put Michigan on the board early, and he's been struggling with consistency all year long. And if you could just contain Marvin Harrison Jr., which they did, I like Michigan chances. So it is a rough blow for Ohio State to lose 3 in a row. But credit to Michigan and Jim Harbaugh's squad, even though he's not there. Unbelievable win and season for them.
Jim Harbaugh going to get credited with the victory, though. We found out this week the games that he are suspended, he is getting credit for. But, Coach, I wanted to ask you, do you agree with Danny that the physicality was one of the big differences in this game? Ohio State were just not able to meet Michigan in that regard.
I absolutely do. They say that the football team always takes on the personality of his head coach, and Michigan has definitely taken on the personality of Jim Harbaugh. Downhill running, power O offense, taking care of the football. McCarthy is not going to go out and throw for a bunch of yards, but he's going to make all the throws that count. I also think you got to give Sharon Moore a lot of credit. 3 for 3 on critical 4th down conversions. He was not afraid. He didn't play not to lose. He played to win the game. Michigan was very physical, and they really punched them and beat them up in all phases. They went to the stadium today, and they said, we're going to lock the gate, and we're not going to let anybody out.
Well said, Coach Carl. I mean, at the end of the day, when you look at it, you're just saying, hey, listen, Michigan knew they were going to have to play Ohio State at the beginning of the season. Everyone knows this is the game that Ryan Day has to win. And when you have a coach that's out of the building, not there on the Saturday, Sharon Moore flat out coached him. Had his team prepared, had his quarterback ready for the big moment. Ryan Day seemed nervous, team seemed nervous, and they didn't play up to par and got beat by a better team, a better coach team, and just an overall better school at the end of the day because they're showing you better ways to do things.
Yeah, and we're getting live pictures from Ann Arbor, and fans have stormed the field. Lots of celebrations, of course, as Michigan stayed perfect at 12-0. And you guys talk about the coach, Sharon Moore. Here's what he had to say after the game. Okay, we don't have that clip yet.
We're getting it. The scenes are unreal. They stormed the field. I mean, the big house is packed. You can only imagine after all this fan base has felt, come, it's the world, us against the world, free Jim Harbaugh.
Yep.
I mean, there's obviously a lot of emotions there, clearly.
So, okay, now we have it. We have Sharon Moore. Let's go to Sharon Moore at the end of this game.
First to say you just won the game. Take it in and describe the emotion of this moment for you and your team.
I mean, look at it. That's what it is. Michigan University, we love you. The fans, the players, man, this is all about the players. Coach Harbaugh, we got your back, baby. We love you. That was for you, baby.
There was so much that went into this. Your aggressiveness in terms of what we saw on offense. On defense, that huge play from Rod Moore. Just take me into the fight from today and your guys.
I mean, it's all the players. They just played their hearts out. I mean, look at this. This is what it's all about. So we're just happy. I'm happy to be here. Blast, Coach. Can't wait to get you back. This is super exciting.
Enjoy it. Congratulations. I'm going to send it over to Tom Rinaldi.
Jenny. Thank you very much. Being serenaded right now, Blake Corum. Like we just talked a moment ago. You played barely a series in this game a year ago. It was a driving force for you coming back to Michigan. What does the moment mean?
It means everything to me. You know, my guys, we all came back for each other. You know, we did it today. You know, this is what we came back for. Games like this in the big house when your back's against the wall and people think you can't do it. People, you know, calling you all types of names. But we stand strong and we stood together as one and we came up victorious.
Your offensive line leader, Zach Zinter, goes down. You guys respond emotionally right away. What does that mean?
You know, that's one of the guys that came back as well. You know, so when I scored, I threw up the 6-5 for him. We said we were going to do it for him, and we did it. You know, Zach, heal well. You know, I know you'll be back stronger than ever.
The motto has been Michigan against everybody. What's the message from Blake Corum and Blue Nation to everybody?
You know, it's Michigan versus everybody. With us, you're against us, but the job's not. We got a lot to finish. We got a lot to work on the next week.
Great game, great win, Blake. Appreciate the time. Jenny.
Any questions about Michigan's physicality? Just look at Blake Corum's face. I mean, for the last couple of weeks, the guy's just taken knock after knock. I think he's had that bandage on his nose for a few weeks now. But Smoke, I want to ask you, do you have any lingering questions about Michigan? Because it seems like today, you know, ranked 3 behind Ohio State for most of the season. Now they come out, win the game. Are there any lingering questions, or did you get a lot of answers today about this Michigan team?
I got everything answered today. At the end of the day, you're looking at just saying Michigan is the best team in college football. They got it answered by saying your head coach is not there. They came out and won it. Can they win the game by throwing the ball when they needed to? They did it. Can you go up, straight up, and just go man for man, mano a mano, 6 minutes left, and just run the clock out and physically impose your will on another team? They did that. Defensively, can you stop the best player in the nation offensively? They did. They corralled them and did a good enough job to win the game. It all answered for me today. Michigan, all the way for me, for right now.
Most complete football team in the country, have good quarterback play, power run game, unbelievable defensive football team, locked in and shut down the #1 receiver in the country, a guy that's going to get picked as the top receiver in the draft next year. I think Michigan going into the playoffs has proven that they are the best overall team in the country.
Man, you guys got that recency bias just glow off your faces. How quickly we forget yesterday what Oregon did to Oregon State. I mean, there are a lot of good football teams. I picked Michigan to win the national championship before the season. There's no doubt their resume is unquestioned. They've answered the test. But I still think you have to look at what Georgia's done on the back end, the way Oregon and Washington come into this back end of the season. Alabama's getting better. But I think this is awesome because I think we're starting to see the cream rise to the top. Clearly, Michigan belongs with a seat at that table. They should absolutely blow out Iowa. So they've done everything. They've looked fantastic. The one piece of the puzzle that I'm curious to know about is J.J. McCarthy, because as good as he's been managing the game, is there a team that can put up some points and you have to score 30-plus, 40-plus points against another opponent? Can J.J. McCarthy rise to that? We'll see, because last year we saw him, those 2 pick sixes against TCU cost him the game. That's the one lingering question mark. Can they go toe-to-toe in a shootout with somebody? Maybe they don't need it. Their defense looked awesome today, but Kyle McCord I don't think is an elite quarterback. They're going to face one in the playoffs for sure.
One of the things that was in the lead up to this game was the fact that Ohio State had been preparing for this since last year's game when Michigan beat them. They've been preparing for this game for a whole year, and now they come up short again. So, Danny, I'll ask you, in terms of Ryan Day and this program, has Ryan Day taken Ohio State as far as he can?
No, I mean, I'm sure Ohio State fans, they think he can take them a step further. I think even Ryan Day would be like, no, I have another step, you know, another gear I can get to. Clearly, this season is another failure. I mean, that's how you judge success at Ohio State is, do you win the Big Ten? Do you get a national championship? And that answer has been no for 3 consecutive years. So I think there's going to be some frustration. And understandably, Jim Harbaugh was not across the sideline, right? That is an advantage that you had. You had the opportunity to match physicality. You couldn't. So there's a number of failures that have taken place here. And I think Ryan Day is going to have to do some soul searching, self-scouting, if you will. You know, is Kyle McCord the right quarterback? Does he bring in competition for him this spring to see if you can elevate the quarterback play? But I think there's a reason why there's rumblings and noise out there that Ryan Day might look to leave. You know, Texas A&M was something our very own Dennis Dodd said that could be a good fit. I think if you're Ryan Day, you might say, all right, I'm getting all this criticism. Let me go find somewhere else and get a fresh start where I'm not going to get crushed for winning every game except for one, which is all he's done in the Big Ten.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think this is as far as Ryan Day can take this at Ohio State. At the end of the day, I think you got to move on. Fresh start for him, maybe wherever school that he goes to, or even the NFL. But when you are 1-3 against the only team that you have to beat in the Big Ten, I think that's a failure, in my opinion.
Guys, no. Ryan Day is beating everybody but one team. That one team is constructed to beat Ohio State. So the issue that Ryan Day has is that his team actually matches up better with the other teams in the playoffs than it does against the University of Michigan. If Ohio State got into a situation where they're going to move on from Ryan Day, they can be putting themselves in this transfer portal and NIL era in a very bad position. They do need better quarterback play. Quinn Ewers would have looked really good for the Buckeyes today, but I don't think you push Ryan Day out for losing one game a season.
Well, I mean, they're essentially Penn State at this point, right? Because they can't beat the team that they need to beat in order to get to the title game and advance in the college football playoff. But, Danny, when you look at Michigan, I mean, I think it's safe to assume they're going to go to number 2 in the college football playoff rankings with the playoff looming. But next week's Big Ten title game, I mean, how do you like them stacking up against Iowa?
Is that a serious question?
Well, the look headline.
No, you do. The look headline is 21. They're a three touchdown favorite. Like, they should handle their business. I mean, it's almost like a sort of a midseason tune-up game, and it's just the reality of where Michigan is. They are light years away from Iowa, and where Iowa can, you know, they're just so inept offensively. Can Iowa's defense provide some of a challenge? You mentioned Penn State. Penn State beat Iowa 31-0. That's the disparity that's going to be there. I wish we could see a rematch of this game. I think that would put the Big Ten, or let Penn State get another try. I hate it that we're having these divisions where you've got this lopsided nature, but it's a reality of the Big Ten right now. So I think Michigan stacks up just great. I think they're going to be able to start, even during this week of practice, start kind of prepping early for potentially who they could square off against the playoffs. So I think this is just one of the luxuries of having a weaker conference, which really a two-team conference.
Well, and it changes next year, right? Because the divisions leave. So next year you would get something like that in terms of a title game, perhaps a little bit more competitive. It's certainly what you would hope it would be.
You get a rematch this year.
Essentially get a rematch, yeah. But, Coach, how do you like, what are your thoughts on how Michigan stack up against Iowa? I mean, I've got to ask the question because of the fact that it is the Big Ten title game. Strange things can happen, but Michigan have answered every question that's been asked of them so far this year.
Iowa just won't be able to do enough offensively to give Michigan much of a problem. This is a game that I expect for Michigan to dominate. Like Danny said, they're going to start to be able to look at some of the potential playoff matchups and get that on film and get that on tape right away. Iowa getting 10 wins is a good story for them this season because they went through a lot, but their fairy tale is going to end against Michigan in the Big Ten title game.
Yeah, if it's a field goal kicking contest, Iowa will have a pretty good shot at it, but they're actually playing football at the end of the day, so it's going to be a pretty good blowout. If Iowa stays good within the first quarter, everybody will be happy, but Michigan's just getting ready for this playoff run.